What if the reason you're not rich yet has nothing to do with money? Think about that for a second. Not your job, not the economy, not bad luck. Something else. Something most people never talk about because most people don't even know it exists. You've worked hard. You've set goals. Maybe you've read the books, listened to the podcasts, tried to stay positive. And still, something feels like it's missing. Like there's a wall between you and the life you know you're supposed to have. I know that feeling, and I think you do too. Here's what I want you to consider. What if that wall isn't outside of you? What if it's something you're carrying? Something invisible, something you've never been taught to see, that's quietly pushing wealth away every single day? Napoleon Hill called it your mental attitude. But it goes deeper than attitude. It goes all the way to who you are when nobody's watching. That's what we're going to talk about today. There's a word that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Aura. Maybe it sounds too mystical, too vague, like something you'd hear in a room with candles and incense. But stay with me, because what I'm about to say has nothing to do with mysticism. It has everything to do with how you move through the world, how people feel when you walk into a room, and what you silently communicate before you ever open your mouth. Napoleon Hill spent over 20 years studying the wealthiest, most successful people in America. And one thing kept showing up, not in their bank accounts, not in their strategies, but in their presence. These people had something around them, an energy, a way of being that made others trust them, follow them, invest in them. Hill called it personal magnetism, and he believed it could be developed, deliberately, by anyone willing to do the inner work. That's what training your aura really means. Not crystals, not rituals, not believing hard enough. It means becoming the kind of person that wealth naturally flows toward. And that starts with understanding something most people get completely backwards. Most people believe that wealth creates confidence, that success brings certainty, that when the money comes, they'll finally feel like they deserve it. But the people Hill studied, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, the Fords, they had it in reverse. The confidence came first. The certainty came first. The feeling of deserving came first. And the money followed. Not because of magic, because of something deeply psychological, deeply human, and deeply trainable. Your aura isn't what you project. It's what you've accepted about yourself. And right now, without even realizing it, yours is sending a signal. The question is, what signal is it sending? Let me ask you something personal. When you walk into a room, a meeting, a negotiation, a conversation with someone who could change your life, what happens inside you? Not what you show. What actually happens? Because there's a version of you that straightens up, smiles, says the right things. That version is performing. And then there's the version underneath. The one that's quietly calculating how you compare to everyone else in that room. The one that wonders if you belong there. The one that's already preparing for the moment things don't work out. That version, the one running in the background, is the one that determines your results. Napoleon Hill wrote about something he called the subconscious mind as a broadcasting station. He wasn't speaking metaphorically. He genuinely believed, and the men he studied confirmed, that human beings emit something, a frequency, a signal that others pick up on without knowing they're picking up on it. You felt it yourself. You've met someone, and within 30 seconds you knew, this person has it together. You didn't know why. You just felt it. And you've met someone else, well-dressed, well-spoken, and something felt off. You couldn't name it, but it was there. That's not intuition working randomly. That's you reading another person's aura, their signal, the invisible broadcast they didn't even know they were making. Now here's the part that changes everything. You are broadcasting right now, every day, in every interaction. And most people, without knowing it, are broadcasting scarcity. Not because they're bad people, not because they lack intelligence or drive, but because somewhere along the way, they absorbed beliefs about money, about worth, about what they're allowed to have. And those beliefs became the signal. Quiet, constant, and incredibly powerful. The good news? A signal can be changed. But first, you have to hear what you're actually transmitting. And that requires a kind of honesty that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. There's a conversation you have with yourself every day. You probably don't notice it anymore. It happens too fast, too quietly. It's woven into the background of your thoughts like static on an old radio. Always there, always running. And in that conversation, there are sentences you've been repeating for years. Things like, "I'll believe it when I see it." Or, "People like me don't get those kinds of opportunities." Or, "Money has always been a struggle in my family." You didn't choose those sentences. Someone handed them to you. A parent, a teacher, a moment of failure that hit you harder than you expected. But here's what Napoleon Hill understood, and what took him decades to articulate clearly enough for the rest of us to hear it. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between a memory and a command. When you repeat a thought long enough, when you feel it, when you believe it, when you let it run unchallenged, your subconscious accepts it as an instruction. And then it gets to work making it true. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because the most powerful goal-seeking mechanism ever created, the human mind, is now aimed at the wrong target. This is why two people can have the same opportunity in front of them and walk away with completely different results. One of them had a subconscious working for them. The other had one working against them. Neither of them knew it was happening. Training your aura begins exactly here. In this conversation. In these sentences you've stopped noticing. Because before you can broadcast abundance, you have to stop broadcasting the opposite. And that work is uncomfortable. It asks you to sit with thoughts you'd rather ignore, to look at patterns you'd rather blame on circumstance. But the people who do that work, who really do it, something shifts in them. Quietly, permanently. Others feel it before they can explain it. Opportunities start appearing in places they weren't looking. Wealth doesn't just come to them. It comes toward them. Now, I want you to do something right now. Go to the comments and write the word, "I attract wealth." Not because it's a ritual, not because words are magic, but because the moment you write it, you're making a decision. A small one, but a real one. You're telling your own mind, out loud, in public, what you're choosing to believe about yourself. And that decision, as small as it seems, is exactly how the shift begins. Write it, and watch what happens inside you when you do. There's a man most people have never heard of. His name was Andrew Carnegie. And before he became the wealthiest man in the world, before the steel empire, before the libraries and the philanthropies and the legacy, he was a poor Scottish immigrant working in a cotton factory for $1.20 a week. But Carnegie had something that the other workers didn't. It wasn't education. He had almost none. It wasn't connections. He knew nobody. It was the way he carried himself inside a room. Napoleon Hill interviewed Carnegie extensively. And Carnegie told him something that Hill never forgot, something that became the foundation of everything Hill would later write and teach. Carnegie said that wealth begins as a feeling, not a plan, not a strategy, not a goal written on a piece of paper. A feeling, a specific, sustained, unshakable feeling of already being the person who has what you desire. Now, before you dismiss that as wishful thinking, stay with me. Because Carnegie wasn't talking about daydreaming. He wasn't talking about pretending. He was talking about something much more demanding than that. He was talking about identity. Who you are at the level of identity determines what you allow into your life, what you recognize as an opportunity, what you believe you deserve to pursue. Most people relate to wealth as something external, something out there, something that happens to lucky people or smart people or people who were born into the right family. Carnegie, and every single person Hill studied over those 20 years, related to wealth as something internal first. They didn't wait to feel abundant until they had money. They cultivated the feeling of abundance until the money had no choice but to follow. And here's what makes this real, what makes this not just philosophy. That feeling changes your behavior. Subtly, daily. It changes how you speak in a meeting, how you negotiate, how you respond to rejection, how patient you are with the process. It changes what you notice, what you pursue, what you let yourself want. And all of that, every single ripple of it, changes your results. Your aura is not separate from your identity. It is your identity made visible. And right now, yours is being shaped by one of two things. Either by design, by deliberate, conscious choices you're making about who you are, or by default, by old patterns, old voices, old beliefs running on autopilot. Carnegie chose design every single day, and the question sitting quietly at the center of everything we're talking about today is this: are you? There's a practice that Hill documented across nearly every wealthy person he ever studied. He called it the mastermind principle. But inside that principle, hidden in plain sight, was something even more fundamental. Something these people did alone, in private, before the meetings, before the decisions, before the world saw any of it. They spent time, real, deliberate, uninterrupted time, inside their own minds. Not planning, not strategizing, not making lists, just sitting with who they were becoming. Hill described it as a form of mental conditioning, a daily practice of aligning the conscious and subconscious mind around a single, clear vision of the self. And I want you to understand what that actually looks like, because it's nothing like what most people imagine. It's not meditation in the way the word is commonly used today. It's not clearing your mind. It's not relaxing. It's the opposite of passive. It's an active, intentional rehearsal of identity. You sit, you close your eyes, and you place yourself, fully, viscerally, emotionally, inside the life you are building. Not the life you wish for, the life you are building. You feel the weight of the decisions you make from that place. You feel the steadiness, the clarity, the quiet confidence of someone who knows where they're going and trusts the path completely. You rehearse the emotions before the circumstances arrive. And here's why this matters more than most people realize. Your nervous system does not distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This isn't spiritual speculation. This is neuroscience. When you rehearse an emotional state with enough clarity and consistency, your brain begins to wire itself around that state as normal, as familiar, as home. And what feels like home, your nervous system will fight to return to it. This is why trauma repeats. This is why patterns persist across decades. This is why people win the lottery and lose it all within 5 years. Their nervous system wasn't wired for that level of wealth, so it found a way back to what felt familiar. Training your aura means training your nervous system. It means making abundance feel so familiar, so normal, so much like home, that scarcity becomes the thing that feels foreign. And that training doesn't happen in a seminar. It doesn't happen in a weekend retreat. It happens in the quiet, in the daily, in the private moments when nobody is watching and you choose, deliberately, patiently, consistently, who you are becoming. Carnegie did it. Rockefeller did it. Hill documented it in all of them. And every single one of them said the same thing when asked about the turning point in their lives. It wasn't an opportunity. It wasn't a mentor. It wasn't luck. It was the moment they decided, with absolute finality, who they were. Everything after that was just the world catching up. But here's what none of them talked about openly. What Hill only hinted at in his later writings. There's a specific obstacle that stops most people from ever reaching that moment of decision. And it has nothing to do with mindset. The obstacle isn't doubt. Doubt is normal. Every person Hill studied had doubt. Carnegie had doubt. Ford had doubt. Hill himself had doubt, crippling, paralyzing doubt that kept him broke for years before everything changed. The obstacle is something quieter than doubt. It's comfort. Not comfort in the way we usually think about it. Luxury, ease, relaxation. I mean the comfort of familiarity. The comfort of knowing exactly what to expect from your life, even when what you expect is limitation. There's a part of the human mind that values predictability above almost everything else. Above happiness, above success, above wealth. Because predictability feels safe. And the mind that feels safe, even inside a life it doesn't want, will resist change with everything it has. This is why people who genuinely want more stay exactly where they are. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't believe, Not because the opportunity isn't there, but because somewhere beneath the wanting, beneath the goals and the vision boards and the affirmations, there is a part of them that is deeply, quietly terrified of what happens if they actually get it. What happens if you become wealthy and the people you love can't relate to you anymore? What happens if you succeed and then lose it and have to live with that? What happens if the version of you that has everything turns out to be someone you don't recognize? These aren't irrational fears. They're human fears, and they live below the surface, shaping decisions, sabotaging momentum, pulling you back toward familiar ground every time you start to move. Napoleon Hill called this invisible force the enemy within, and he was uncharacteristically blunt about it. He said most people will never be wealthy, not because wealth is unavailable to them, but because they are more committed to their current identity than they are to their desired one. Read that again slowly. More committed to their current identity than to their desired one. Not consciously. Nobody chooses limitation consciously, but through 1,000 small daily decisions: what they consume, what they tolerate, what conversations they have, what thoughts they allow to go unchallenged. They keep choosing the familiar self over the expanding one. Training your aura requires something that feels almost counterintuitive at first. It requires you to become comfortable with discomfort, not to seek it out dramatically, not to blow up your life, but to stop running from the quiet unease that comes when you start growing beyond what you've always known. That unease is not a warning signal. It's a growth signal. And learning to read the difference, to sit inside that feeling without retreating, is one of the most powerful things you will ever do. Because on the other side of that discomfort is not just wealth. It's a version of yourself you haven't met yet. And that version, the one that's been waiting patiently behind every fear, every hesitation, every moment you almost moved and then didn't. That version already knows how to attract everything you've been working toward. The only thing standing between you and that person is the decision to stop being so comfortable with who you are right now. And that decision, when it's real, when it comes from somewhere deep, doesn't feel like motivation. It feels like something much quieter than that. There's a moment Hill described that I want you to sit with. He called it the moment of crystallization. It's not dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. There's no lightning, no revelation, no sudden flood of certainty that washes everything clean. It's quieter than that. It's the moment when something inside you, something that has been shifting slowly, almost imperceptibly, over days and weeks and months of inner work, finally settles. Like sediment in water that has been stirred for a long time. And when it settles, everything looks different. Not because the world changed. The world is exactly the same. But because you changed. At a level deep enough that the change is permanent. Hill documented this moment in person after person. And what struck him wasn't the drama of it. There was no drama. What struck him was the consistency. Every single person described the same thing. A quietness, a stillness, a sense of knowing that didn't need to be confirmed by anyone or anything outside of themselves. And then, almost immediately after, things began to move. Opportunities that had always been there suddenly became visible. Conversations that would have intimidated them before now felt natural. Decisions that used to take weeks of agonizing became clear within minutes. Not because the world opened up for them, because they finally opened up for the world. This is what a trained aura actually does. It doesn't attract wealth the way a magnet attracts metal, mechanically, automatically, without effort. It attracts wealth the way a prepared mind attracts opportunity, by being ready to recognize it, ready to act on it, ready to sustain it. Because here's the truth about opportunity that nobody talks about enough. Opportunity is almost never rare. What's rare is the person who is prepared, internally, psychologically, energetically, to receive it without flinching. Most people, when a real opportunity arrives, find a reason to hesitate, a reason to wait, a reason to let it pass. Not because they're foolish, because they're not ready at the level that matters most. The level of identity, the level of aura, And this is where everything we've talked about today converges into something practical, something you can actually use starting today. Because training your aura is not a one-time event. It's not a decision you make once and then coast on forever. It's a daily practice, unglamorous, repetitive, deeply personal. It's the conversation you have with yourself before anyone else wakes up. It's the thought you choose to challenge instead of accept. It's the moment you catch yourself shrinking, in a meeting, in a negotiation, in a quiet moment alone, and you choose, deliberately, to expand instead. Small moments, invisible to everyone around you, but cumulative in a way that eventually becomes impossible to ignore. Hill spent his life trying to explain why some people attract wealth almost effortlessly while others struggle their entire lives and never break through. And after 20 years of research, after hundreds of interviews, after studying the greatest accumulators of wealth in American history, his answer was never about tactics. It was never about strategy. It was always about the interior life of the person, who they believed they were, what they believed they deserved, how they carried that belief in their body, in their voice, in the way they moved through a room, their aura. And now, after everything we've walked through together today, there's one final piece. The piece that most people, even the ones who understand everything we've talked about, still manage to get wrong. The final piece is the one nobody wants to hear. Not because it's complicated. It's actually the simplest thing we've discussed today, but because it requires something that our culture has quietly trained us to avoid. Patience. Not the passive kind. Not the kind where you wait and hope and check every day to see if anything has changed. The active kind. The kind Hill called faith, and he was very specific about what he meant by that word. He didn't mean religious faith. He didn't mean blind belief. He meant the ability to act with full commitment towards something you cannot yet see. Not because you're certain of the outcome, but because you're certain of yourself. That distinction is everything. Most people are waiting for evidence before they commit. They want to see the results before they do the work. They want to feel the shift before they make the change. But that's not how identity works. That's not how aura works. You don't wait until you feel abundant to act abundantly. You act abundantly. In your thinking, in your decisions, in how you treat your own time and energy, and the feeling follows. You don't wait until you feel magnetic to carry yourself with presence. You choose presence, deliberately, daily, even when it feels unearned, and the magnetism develops. This is the sequence that Hill documented over and over again. Internal shift first, external results second, always in that order, never reversed. And the gap between those two things, between the internal shift and the external results, that gap is where most people quit. Because the gap is real. It has length. It has weight. It tests you in ways that are deeply personal and sometimes brutal. You do the work and nothing seems to change. You hold the vision and the bank account looks the same. You choose the expanded identity and the world around you hasn't caught up yet. And in that gap, the old voice comes back. Quiet, familiar, reasonable sounding. It says, see? It's not working. You were foolish to believe. Go back to what you know. And most people listen. Not because they're weak. Because they're human. But the ones who don't listen, the ones who stay in the gap, who keep doing the work in the silence, who refuse to let the absence of immediate results be evidence of failure. Those are the ones Hill wrote about. Those are the ones history remembers. And here's what they all said, looking back from the other side of that gap. The waiting wasn't wasted time. It was preparation time. Every day in the gap was a day the identity was solidifying. The aura was strengthening. The nervous system was rewiring around a new normal. And when the world finally caught up, when the opportunity arrived, when the door opened, when the shift became visible, they were ready. Not just strategically, not just financially, ready at the level that actually determines outcomes. Ready inside. So if you're in the gap right now, if you've been doing the work and wondering why the results aren't matching the effort, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are in the most important part of the process. Stay, do the work, trust the sequence. And if you fico et agora comigo nest video, e porque você está comprometido, criar uma vida de abundância e sucesso, and that commitment is not small. That is everything. So I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Every video here is built for exactly this, to help you develop the mindset, the identity, the inner architecture that attracts wealth and opportunity every single day. Not hype, not shortcuts, not motivation that fades by Tuesday. Just deep, real, practical work on the thing that actually moves the needle. The interior life. Subscribe and come back, because what we're building here, together, takes time, and it's worth every minute of it. I want to take you back to something, not a concept, not a lesson, a moment. Think about the person who pressed play on this video, where they were sitting, what they were feeling, what quiet hope or quiet frustration was running underneath the surface when they decided to spend this time here. That person had something that most people don't have, even if they'd never describe it this way. They hadn't given up. Not completely. Not yet. There was still a part of them, maybe small, maybe tired, maybe a little bruised from trying, that believed something was possible, that believed they hadn't reached their ceiling, that believed the life they could feel just beyond their current reality was real and reachable and worth the work. You came here with that, and I don't want you to leave without recognizing it for what it is. That's not wishful thinking. That's not naivety. That's the signal. That quiet, persistent, unreasonable belief that more is possible for you. That is the beginning of everything Hill ever wrote about. That is the raw material of every fortune ever built. That is the seed of the aura you are training. Most people silence that signal. They call it impractical. They let the years and the disappointments and the weight of other people's limitations talk them out of it. But you're still here, and that means something. Now, here's what I want you to carry with you. Wealth is not a destination you arrive at one day, look around, and finally exhale. It's a way of moving through the world. It's the person you are in the small moments, the private moments, the moments when nothing is on the line and nobody is watching and you still choose, deliberately, quietly, without applause, to think like someone who has already become what they're building toward. That choice, made daily, made honestly, made even on the days it feels hollow. That is the practice. That is the training. That is what changes the signal you broadcast to every room you walk into, every conversation you have, every opportunity that passes within reach of your life. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years trying to understand why some people attract wealth and others don't. And in the end, after all the interviews, all the research, all the books and lectures and decades of observation, he kept coming back to the same thing. Not strategy, not luck, not talent, a decision, a single, quiet, permanent decision about who you are and what you are here to do. That decision doesn't make noise. It doesn't need to. It just changes everything. You know what that decision looks like for you. You've known for a while now. The only question that remains, the one I'll leave you with, the one worth sitting with long after this video ends, is whether today is the day you stop treating it as a someday. Share this video with 5 people who are ready to hear it. Not people who need to be convinced. People who are already carrying that signal, that quiet, unreasonable belief, and just need someone to reflect it back to them clearly. 5 people. And follow this channel. Because this conversation isn't finished. It's just beginning.